So here's 4 reasons, that's 4 reasons why journalists love good care provider or care home stories. And the journalists I'm particularly referring to here are the regional media journalists. Now, as we know, the national press, national journalists are more likely to pick up on scandals, on bad news, on the crisis affecting the care sector. And you don't need me to tell you all about those, everything from the ravages of COVID to recruitment crisis to failings of various providers to provide a good quality of care. And we often see those stories in the national press. National press are largely there to do. They are largely there to be eyes and third-party monitors and present the care sector as they feel it is. That's their role. The regional press, however, is rather different. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to do 4 main reasons, as I say. But let me just tell you kind of how I know this. My background is as a journalist. In my heart, I guess that's kind of really who I feel I am. And one of the key skills that I do have. And I spent many years pitching and selling stories into the national press and the regional press. And I got to appreciate the differences. But as I say, for the regional press, there are 4 main things that make them different. And let me first perhaps just emphasize who we mean by the regional press and regional journalists. We are talking about the journalists on the local newspapers, that would be in Leeds or Liverpool or Southampton or Bournemouth or Cumbria or Glasgow, wherever it is. And then you also, of course, have your online outlet for those media publications. And those are the kind of outlets that get picked up on Google News, for example, which is an important domain authority, particularly around search. And then you have the regional BBC and ITV television journalists, who there were their camera crews going around doing a broadcast of various regional news. And as you know, there are a number of regional outlets around the UK. And then, of course, you have your radio journalists, in particular the BBC local radio journalists. So that's very broadly are the regional media that your care provider likely wants to build up relationships with. And the important thing to think about when pitching to those journalists is, as I say, they are more likely to see very favourably around your good news stories in your care homes or as a care provider. And this you must make to your advantage, particularly if you're wanting to make sure that you are embarking on proactive PR, you are disseminating, improving the profile and reputation of your care homes or your care provider in order ultimately to help get more inquiries, leads, and perhaps recruit dream care team. So the first reason that local media journalists love your care homes or your care provider is that they love the public interest. That's the public interest around care. Essentially, you as a care provider are looking after our nation's elderly, and this is of huge public interest. How you do it, how best to do it, and the kind of success stories that you may have in doing it, and also some of the challenges that you may face, the ups and downs of being a care provider. The second element is the human interest. That's the human interest that journalists on the local media are really keen to learn about. Now, let's remember, local journalists are usually interested in, obviously, a specific region, and positive stories from your homes involving residents or involving staff have a high resonance with journalists who are looking to find those good news stories within a particular region, a region that's their patch. Particularly, as I say, when you have that background of this public interest. So I'm just kind of thinking of all the PR deliverables that I've been involved on, or my care homes that I know. It may be a local resident who was well known and is now being looked after in a care home. It may maybe involving local charities and schools. And sometimes I've seen, for example, a famous author who has then been looked after in a care home, and she's been sharing her passions and interests that she has been able to maintain while being cared for in a care home. And when you bring out the human interest, or the backstory as it's called, of a particular resident, local people may often know of that person. So it carries, as I say, extra resonance and extra interest. And if you can bring out, as often is that possible when you are writing a news stories for your care homes, about a life story of a resident, if she or he is willing to give their consent, which 9 times out of 10 they are, I'm very happy to be involved, as are their families, you can just start to bring out this wonderful human interest story from your care homes. And I do know, if I walked into any one of your care homes right now, I could probably find 6, there you go, 6 stories straight off the cuff involving a powerful human interest story, which would help you get that positive press coverage and positive PR. So the third element is the health interest. Yes, of course. Now, as people working in the front line of care, and particularly dementia, you are often experts, and many care providers have a specialism in dementia care. And as you know, dementia is an ever-increasing affliction for the UK and other nations, and it's become a particularly pressing and ever-important healthcare concern for the nation. And that means that your staff, your manager, your experience in providing care for people with dementia and involving them in various ways to manage and cope with dementia that they may have, is a platform for which you can position your care provider as an expert. And regional journalists, and indeed all national journalists, but regional journalists as well, are looking for experts around healthcare issues, and you as a dementia expert in care especially will have that. And that's what journalists, particularly regional journalists, would love to hear about your care home. The fourth reason is good news. As I said a few moments ago, I know if I walked into your care home right now, you would have 6 wonderful stories off the cuff that I could identify that would all be a positive news, whether that be assisting a resident with a personal interest despite being in a care home, whether that be, I'm recording this video just before Valentine's Day, whether that be enabling a married couple to celebrate their Valentine's Day whilst in a care home, whether that be having intergenerational activities in your home, whether that be organising a special pet therapy or musical therapy event, or special days out that help particular residents continue with a hobby or an interest. These are all very, very powerful good news stories, and when they are mixed up with everything else I've mentioned here on this video, which includes healthcare, public interest, these can really make your good news stories from your care provider really, really fly. And that's the reason why the regional media love good care provider stories.